It's a reference to a video we used to show in class. The video's been edited now that all the jokes been taken out.
You need to read this book. And if you don't want to be selling burgers at 80, you need to read this free book. It includes the strategy I use to make a 72% profit on a trade where the stock only moved 12%. You'll need at least $1 million to ever fully retire. If you're behind on that goal, you really need to read Trade Like the Pros. And you can for free by calling 1-800-700-2114. Skeptical that will deliver results? It's a free book, so what do you have to lose? Find out how at 1-800-700-2114. 1-800-700-2114. Never want to
Show
prices to go to waste.
I could have gotten 51 votes from the Senate of the United States for an outright ban, picking up every one of them. Mr. and Mrs. America, turn them all in. I would have done it.
I have 2 words for you. Predator drones. You will never see it coming.
It's time for On Target Radio, Chicagoland's only radio show dedicated to the red meat issues that affect your life, from gun control to freedom of speech. Now, debating, debunking, and discussing today's hot issues. Here are your hosts, David Lombardo and Gretchen.
And welcome to On Target Radio. I'm David Lombardo.
I'm Gretchen Fritz. Tonight, David and I will be talking about the continuing assault on freedom of speech. GOP presidential candidates are starting to line up. The thing conservatives and liberals are in lockstep over, the UN Arms Treaty, and ISIS humanitarian efforts mission, putting lipstick on a pig.
So be sure to give us a call at 312-642-5600 or go to Facebook, like our page On Target Radio, and ask a question there. Do you like putting lipstick on a pig?
I don't, because that phrase was used against me.
Okay, we're done. You know, George, what can you say about that, right? I mean, that was it. What can you do? All right. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never harm me. Anyone growing up in the 1950s heard that from their teacher or parent when playground bullies picked on you and you wanted to hit them with a baseball bat. I have no doubt it thwarted many a planned murderous playground revenge, for 10-year-olds particularly have little or no remorse when it comes to pounding the snot out of another kid in the playground. We had Dagos, Wops, Greasers, Kites, Coons, Polacks, and a whole host of other ethnic slurs. Did it hurt you when someone called you a name? Well, yes and no. If my friend Art called me a Dago, I'd respond with Kraut, which was a bit ironic since Art wasn't German, Art was Hungarian. But for some reason, Hungarians didn't appear to have a racial epithet, so Kraut worked out well enough. The point is, they were just words. But even as we were uttering those words, another boy was discovering a different take on how words influence behavior. Years later, in 1971, Saul Alinsky would publish his seminal book, Rules for Radicals, in which he wrote, "He who controls the language controls the masses." Rules for Radicals is a must-read for anyone who wants to understand the challenges faced by conservatives in trying to save the values and culture of the heart of America. It is a handbook on how to co-opt a culture and turn it into whatever you want. In fact, conservatives do their level best to avoid conflict, to be polite, always tell the truth, and work hard. Progressive humanists, on the other hand, live for conflict because it's the only chance they have at changing our culture. Joseph Goebbels wrote, "If you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it. The lie can be maintained only for such time as the state can shield the people from the political, economic, and/or military consequences of the lie. It thus becomes vitally important for the state to use all of its powers to repress dissent, for the truth is the mortal enemy of the lie, and thus by extension the truth is the greatest enemy of the state." Today, Alinsky and Goebbels rule our country from the grave. Their philosophies are the bedrock of the leftist agenda in America, and the most confrontational thing conservatives can muster up is grousing on talk radio and some hand-wringing. Read Confrontational Politics, by former Senator H.L. Richardson. In it, he writes, the tendency of one who is rooted in the traditional views of courtesy, civility, and directness is to be reluctant to challenge a political adversary in a confrontational manner. This allows them to be turned around into a defensive position during an exchange with a humanist who has no such reluctance. Richardson rightly believes the old Marxist postulate of the ends justify the means fits firmly into the philosophy of most humanists. Disagree with the government today and see how long it takes before you get audited by the IRS or visited by the FBI. Are you a university student or faculty member? Higher education is the epicenter of freedom of speech, provided your speech is aligned with liberal sentiment. Otherwise, you can back off on that PhD thermodynamics dissertation and find yourself looking at enrolling in your local junior college welding program. Too many of the words that we say or write every day go to some government computer for analysis. We've lost our ability to voice our opinion without fear of government repression. In my lexicon, when the government monitors what you say, what you write, where you travel, and what organizations you belong to, when a government tells you what's correct speech and what isn't, it's Hitler's dream come true. Totalitarianism, centralized dictatorial government requiring complete subservience to the state. Orwell's book, 1984, made interesting reading in 1964, but in 2015, it doesn't make for interesting reading. And that is my rant for the week.
Well, that was coherent. You were afraid that it wouldn't be.
I was a
It was.
little concerned because I wrote most of it semi-comatose.
Apparently, you do good work, semi-comatose.
Maybe I should say that way more often.
Yeah, I think that's you've hit on something. I've said it before, and I'll probably say it again. 1984 was supposed to be a warning, not an instruction manual,
And
this administration has turned it into an instruction manual.
the stuff you hear more and more really is scary. It's scary stuff. Give us a call, 312-642-5600, 312-642-5600, and weigh in on, is the government, they got, you can't even say it's the camel's nose under the tent. The camel's sleeping in your bed. I mean, you know what I'm saying? There's an article written by a guy named Tim Brown about the Supreme Court. Now, we tend to think of the Supreme Court because they tend to be pro-Second Amendment. They've got a one vote on the thing. And we tend to think of them as, of course, being good because most of the time they've ruled in our favor.
They've gone our way lately.
Yeah, but as he points out, and I hadn't thought about this even though I knew it cognitively, it's just never processed. The Supreme Court, did you know that they refused to hear that case about the kids who wanted to wear American flag t-shirts on Cinco de Mayo?
I didn't even know it was, that they asked to have
Yeah.
it heard by the Supreme Court. I didn't even know that.
Well, this happened back in 2010 at Oak Hill High School in California, and it was Cinco de Mayo. Okay, and that's fine. I don't have an issue with that. I mean, people celebrate their cultures. I think that's cool.
Mhm.
But there were kids at the high school, a California, United States of America high school, who wanted to wear t-shirts with flags, U.S. flags on them, and they were told that they couldn't wear patriotic t-shirts because Hispanic students might be offended.
Mm-hmm. Might cause problems at school.
Yeah. So you can wear a foreign t-shirt and our potentially being offended is okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. The Supreme Court refused to hear that. And that's a little troubling.
That is a little shocking.
Yeah.
That is a little shocking.
When it comes to free speech, I think, is that not sort of the baseline right there?
Yeah, I agree. I think that part of the reason that they didn't want to hear it and that all the district courts up to that point have lined up behind the school is because it's a school. And they don't want to undermine the school's authority. They don't want to question the school's authority.
Yeah, what could be wrong with that?
Well, I know. I'm not agreeing with it. I'm just saying I think that's what I've heard up to this point.
The federal government and to some degree state governments have been putting pressure on homeschoolers. Because here's the deal is, I don't like what you're teaching my kid in school. I'm going to teach him at homeschool.
Right.
So what's the answer to that? let's make it almost impossible for you to go to homeschool.
We're going to harass you so that you're going to
Yeah.
have second thoughts about homeschooling.
Exactly.
Mhm.
One of the things this guy says in the article is the fact that free speech is under assault in this country tells us that we've strayed from our founding, and that Marxists are, in fact, in high levels of government, and they control not only what we say, but what we wear. You can't wear a certain T-shirt when you go to high school. Schools in general, if you show up with an NRA T-shirt, it's just the logo NRA.
Mm-hmm.
You have to turn that inside out.
Depending on the school, I'm sure.
Of course, absolutely. If you do that in Utah, they take a picture of it and put it on a bulletin board. But if you do that, you know, in New Jersey, they put you on the bulletin board, hung there.
Right. They call the police on you.
Exactly. They call it hate crimes. How is it a hate crime to wear the flag of your country in your country?
I've always been unclear on that. I absolutely
Been unclear. Exactly.
I'm gobsmacked. I'm literally gobsmacked.
We're going to take a break here in a minute, actually 40 seconds. When we come back, let's talk a little about the military chaplain, because this story drives me nuts. This really drives me crazy. This story will show you how bad this country has gotten, and particularly what they've done to our military. It's a travesty. Give us a call, 312-642-5600. Weigh in on it. We'll be back with more On Target Radio after a few messages, and you're listening to AM560, The Answer.
Oh, I got
A few
something.
messages.
Yeah, I got something about the military thing. Let me access my email here.
Is it email?
It was in my email.
Okay.
ChicagoRadioDeals.com. Traffic Center. Taking a look at your roadways.
It might be on my Facebook page too.
I'm coming back with Indian food.
Yep.
Indian food. Now, I want you to listen how a professional will screw this up completely, because I can barely read.
Did you ever have a girlfriend in high school, Dave?
I had steady that, yes.
Okay, good. Then this isn't the first time you've been done.
The first time I've been what?
Done.
Uh-oh.
Dumb. When did I get dumb?
What do you say?
During his rant.
What did I say?
One of those selection
one?
words which I can't use starts with C.
Oh.
What?
Which one of those? There's only one that started with
I don't remember. I have no recollection. Oh. Really? I don't know, what was it? You know?
I did clean though. Right before you started, I hit it clean. So it was right before you started into your actual, you know.
Well, that's good. That shows I'm emotional.
That's right.
And you can always plug the podcast as
It shows
like
your
unedited.
cutting edge.
And we'll come back with being dumb before we go to Indian food. What I'll do is I'll come back to being dumb. And I'll say, speaking of being dumb, Indian. Hi.
To quote David Lombardo, we're done.
That's it. We're done. That's
You want to
it.
hear something funny? I don't know if it must have been in person because we don't talk on the phone that much. He goes, have you ever watched the video about, I'm like, yeah, for a few minutes. It's like watching paint dry, but yeah, I've watched it. The YouTube
show.
videos, you know, after the fact. He goes, I just watched one for the first time the other day. It's horrible. He's like, I do all sorts of horrible things.
Yes. I never watched one
That's
before.
the idea.
Well,
I'm
but you would like it to
He
not
goes,
be.
I forget the camera's there and I do all sorts of things I shouldn't do. I'm like, yeah, I
Picking
know.
your ass.
Like, have you ever noticed?
That
like,
is wrong.
I try to make a point of
The
not,
giant snake.
That's wrong.
not like
Look at the size
picking
of
my
that thing.
nose and stuff like that.
Well, I didn't pick my nose, but I just am weird.
It'll humanize you.
Yeah. And I know I video you're doing
It's
this
just
a lot.
stutters
Yeah,
and
I don't.
You probably didn't notice it. Then you move your hands and do stuff with them.
This is a
And all of
radio
sudden-
show. If I'm on camera, I don't do it. Like I never
No,
remember
no, no,
that I'm
no,
on camera.
I mean, the other day when I was interviewing you on that video, I'm watching it.
Oh, was I really?
Yeah, I knew you probably weren't aware of it. I didn't realize it either. So
No. I mean, my hands are dirty. So I got dumb. I got dumb.
Well, if you
by
can't-
me.
if you
Yeah.
can't get a death threat, at least you can get done. I don't think I've ever been done.
Gretchen, just to your left on the shelf there, just go ahead and ring the bell.
So they just hear a beat, blank space. What?
No, it just extracts 8 seconds out of the delay.
So there's an
So
8-second.
No, it skips straight to.
So they
That's
might
why
not
I-
even know it.
Right. Well, yeah, they probably wouldn't have realized it, but that's why when I do it, that moment is at the end of that skip. 17 seconds, by the way, and then you started into
So
a
I'm gonna have to
sentence.
tell them that. I got to get credit for
I
it.
doubt many would have noticed.
I gotta tell
Unless
you,
they were listening and they're like, huh?
I have to get credit for
Middle of the sentence. Go for it.
it. Yeah.
Sometimes it's instinctively catch back
Just
up.
don't repeat it or they won't know again.
And I'll just say I got them because they said whatever it was.
Target Radio
Okay.
on AM560 The Answer with David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz. Here's David and Gretchen with more interesting conversation on gun control, concealed carry, freedom of speech, and other red meat issues that affect your.
And we're back with more on Target Radio. Give us a call, 312-642-5600. Weigh in on your opinion on the whole government living in our lives. Meanwhile, if you love great Indian cuisine like we do, then you must experience Gaylord Fine Indian Cuisine in Schaumburg. Gaylord is so good, Gretchen and I eat there before the show. For over 38 years, 18 in Schaumburg, Gaylord has served an extensive menu of fine Indian cuisine, signature dishes such as tandoori jhinga, jumbo prawns, chicken tikka masala, or the tangy and hot South Indian specialty lamb vindaloo. All dishes are prepared using only quality fresh ingredients, including the elaborate $12.95 lunch buffet that's cooked that morning. Manager Darren DeBreo invites you to come early when they open at 11:30 weekdays and noon on Saturday to see the freshness for yourself. I recommend you skip breakfast and save your appetite. And Gaylord can accommodate business meetings and events for up to 60 people. Gaylord Fine Indian Cuisine is on Mall Drive, just south of Woodfield Mall. Call 847-619-3300 or visit GaylordIL.com. Gaylord Fine Indian Cuisine is the Mercedes of fine Indian dining. 847-619-3300. So, you get the death threat. That's cool.
Mhm.
I get
You've always been
beeped.
jealous.
I get beeped. Or gonged. I don't know. I don't know if you even heard it, but during my rant, George is real quick. I didn't even know it. I got beeped on a word. And I have to go look it up because I don't even know what word it is. George, what word is it? Tell the audience.
He's saying it right now.
That's amazing. George's mic is not working. It's a good night. We're free to go. He still has a dump switch, so we got to watch that. We were talking before going into the break. We were talking about the whole what being monitored, freedom of speech, and all that. And I wanted to talk about the chaplain because I think this is it's Captain Joe Longhorn, and I think this is really outrageous. The whole purpose of a chaplain, and it says it, he quotes the chaplain's manual, is to bring God to soldiers and soldiers to God.
Yeah.
No one is forced to go to a chaplain.
Mhm.
Because he was doing a suicide prevention thing, right? And he himself, as a ranger, had been depressed, and he was relating a personal story of how was King David, I think,
King David.
right? And
the story of King David encouraged him.
Exactly.
And made it feel.
And it was
feel better.
It was a personal thing,
Yes.
right? So, which is what you do when you want to relate to people.
Yes.
He got written up for it.
Yep. There's a letter of concern in his file now.
Yeah. And what happened was somebody who was in that seminar, it was on depression, as I recall, suicide prevention seminar.
Suicide prevention.
Somebody who was in that seminar didn't say anything to him, went to an atheist, military atheist group,
Sure.
and complained, went up on Facebook, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Mm-hmm.
And that just astounds me. What does a chaplain do?
Yeah.
What is the point of hiring chaplains in the military if they can't talk about religion? It doesn't make sense.
I agree. I
So-
agree. I'm trying to find an email that I got from the American Family Association because I believe it's the guy who runs this. No, I think it's a different group. The group that was complained to about this chaplain was the Military Association of Atheists and Freethinkers. I think there's another one that was complained to that they do a lot of these things. They take the Gideon's Bibles out of the Air Force schools, and they've been engaged in actively persecuting Christians in the military and trying to squelch their free speech rights as it pertains to religion.
I hate people like that. I really do.
Yeah.
In the letter that he got, the letter of reprimand, which, to be fair, I mean, truth in advertising, right? To be fair, it was a local letter. In other words, it doesn't follow him. It's not going to ruin his career. It's in the local file and then it gets destroyed. But that's not the point.
No.
The point is, the letter that he was given says, you advocated for Christianity and used Christian scripture and solutions and therefore violated Army regulations for
That's
a chaplain.
what he's hired to do.
Exactly. This is nuts. Give us a call, 312-642-5600. Should a chaplain in the military, who you don't have to go to,
Right.
should a chaplain in the military be able to talk about religion?
Even if this was a talk that, okay, this is advertised to the base in general, come here and talk about suicide prevention. And maybe the chaplain was only one of several speakers. When a chaplain gets up to talk, that's what you expect to hear from him.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't care who you are, that's what you expect to hear.
He cites that the motto in the creed of the chaplain corps, the motto is bring God to soldiers and soldiers to God.
Yes.
That's what they do for a living. And I remember when I was in Vietnam, these guys would come out, they didn't always get to make it on Sunday, maybe they came Saturday, but they would come out in the middle of nowhere and they'd set up a little altar and stuff, and they would, one week might be Catholic and the next week might be, Protestant, whatever. They put themselves in harm's way to bring the word out, and people went to that and they felt, better for doing it.
Mhm.
I don't see the problem there. If you're an atheist, that's fine. You can be an atheist. Why do you have to screw?
Well, and I just don't see, I'm sorry, I don't see how that's offensive, that I'm telling my personal story, my experience, my life experience, and this is what helped me when I was dealing with depression, when I was contemplating suicide. I don't understand how, even if you don't believe in it, how is that offensive? It may not be helpful to me, and I may, because I don't believe in that, it may not, it may not ring true for me, but how is it offensive?
It is offensive because people have. We talked about this thing about the gay wedding thing. It's really no different. It's offensive to them because they want you to be forced to accept their point of view. You can't. Me. I'm live and let live. I don't care. Doesn't bother me. You want to, fine. Be my guest.
Right.
You like sheep. Go enjoy your sheep. Don't make me watch. Don't make me involved in what you believe.
Or even have to say that it's okay.
Right.
I don't think that anyone should have to, agree with or sanction what some the practices of another person.
Exactly. That's the problem that we face as Republicans, as conservatives.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that we don't like to get confrontational, and we let these clowns just bulldoze over. It's totally out of control. It's gotten to the point. How can it be with these radical Muslim idiots? You have to accept them. They say what you're doing is you're offensive to us. Okay, what about the part where you're offensive to me? Why should I care if I'm offensive to you if you don't care if you're offensive to me? It's that attitude. And the problem is this has been developed in this country. It's been happening now for about 30 years, where the slightest offended person, oh, well, we have to stop. There have been whole things ended, performances, all kinds of things that have been closed down because one person said, well, this offends me.
Right.
Look at the, what do the crushes, they call them? The Christmas crush, Christmas crush, which used to be almost every school,
Commonplace,
including public schools. They put it out front. No big deal.
They have a huge life-size one in downtown Plainfield.
Still?
There's a lot of things. Yeah, there's a lot of things that I'm not crazy about Plainfield, but you gotta love that.
Is it on public land or something?
No, it's on a church property.
Yeah, well, there you go.
But it's still a huge event that the whole town attends.
And you just said, I think, one of the key points of this, and the key point is rational human beings, normal, rational people appreciate it. If you're Jewish and you see that, oh, that's beautiful, that's really nice. You may not believe in what it's saying.
Exactly.
But you go, well, that's nice. And when I see, Mike Sakoff's a Jewish guy. He married a Christian woman, and everybody gets along. They respect each other, and they celebrate. You know, why are these radical nutballs allowed to get away
Well,
with this
and
stuff?
even your friend Cy, you know, we had dinner with him, and I asked him straight out. I said, I've been told, you told me, I actually never heard it before. This phrase is considered negative towards Jewish people. Is a phrase I use, and so I just asked him, and he was very calm, and he said, yeah, actually that is considered offensive.
Don't say it, George will buzz you out.
Yeah, he'll bleep me.
Beep you up. Give us a call, 312-642-5600. We'll be back after these messages with more on Target Radio, and you are listening to AM560 The Answer. Edward from Chicago, Muslim double standard. Well, there's a real shocker. All right.
There's at least two different ones that I can think of.
Which would be double.
Edward from Chicago actually said he wanted to address the Muslim double standard
Yeah,
in a time of war from a chaplain's point of view. So I don't know if he
Oh.
was a chaplain. I don't know.
Well, that'll be interesting.
He did not explicitly say that.
Okay. We can do that.
Radio station. Welcome to AM560.
What is the calling number here anyways?
Pardon me? What's what?
Oh, there it is.
Online announcement
Yeah.
today, another Republican about to announce his candidacy.
They used to have it up there, too.
Tomorrow, the Florida Senator
I
will
did
announce
see
his
that.
campaign
before.
at
I
6
forgot
o'clock primetime news, and the question for many of the Republican Party is, geez, will all the attention
I
to
can't
Hillary
find
Clinton
the email.
overshadow
It was
Rubio? And the
this
Rubio
this
campaign
guy.
says that
His
is no,
name
actually, it's a
is
great opportunity for them
Mikey
and him to
Weinstein,
contrast himself to Hillary
and his
Clinton and
group
show that it's
is
time for him to
called
face
Fox's Carl Cameron Rubio's a protege, a former
Military
Florida Governor
Religious
Jeb
Freedom
Bush, who is
Foundation,
also expected.
and he's the guy who demanded that a Bible verse be removed from an Air Force cadet's little whiteboard by his dorm room, dropped plans for Operation Christmas Child at the Air Force Academy, removed the word Bible from its list of items to be provided in military like care packages or kits or something. My email's clearing up. Military lodging facilities is what it was. But yeah, this guy is just an asshole, and he's like, he's constantly like putting stuff to the military.
Not the guy who wrote you. He's talking about somebody who did it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a group that I subscribe to their emails. But the cool thing was, so this Mikey Weinstein guy, he's constantly inserting. He's not in the military, but he's constantly inserting himself into these situations and like demanding that.
Personally, he hasn't got the balls to be in the military.
Right.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not. And there was finally some commander finally said, okay, the individual, like, it seems like the Air Force is like his thing. Like, he mostly goes after the Air Force. The individual Air Force bases are not to deal with this guy. If he sends you any correspondence or anything, send it up the chain of command. We'll deal with it at a higher level. And I was like, yes! It was awesome. I thought I posted it on my Facebook page. Of like they finally just said, we've had enough of this guy, just don't pay any attention to him anymore. So I was really happy about that. But now I can't find the email. I probably deleted it.
There's a famous quote from who was the guy? Dick Cavett. Remember Dick Cavett?
Yeah.
So Dick Cavett apparently was sort of beloved by everybody in Hollywood. Everybody, because he's just a nice guy. And Johnny Carson had him on the show one time, and Carson said, you know, you have a reputation for everybody likes you. You get along with everybody in Hollywood, which is extremely difficult to do. And Cavett goes, yeah. He says, Hollywood's a funny place. He goes, Hollywood is one of the only places in the world where it's not enough that you become ridiculously successful, but your friends have to fail. That's the sort of Hollywood take. Okay. Well, we had a second call and dropped off.
No, you had a guy talking about Grover Norquist and how Glenn Beck disappeared for a week. Yeah.
Did he have the answer to the quiz too?
No.
Ah.
Did he tell you how to make a tinfoil hat?
No, I already know.
That's easy. That does not surprise me.
Well, let's put it this way: when you had the high school habits that I did, making things out of tinfoil comes natural.
I don't want to know.
I don't want to
Yeah.
know.
Don't want to know.
Our friend in New York City has a comment I can read if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, he says lack of freedom of speech is the mainstream media's
One.
in the mainstream media only covers some of the news, and when they do cover an issue, they use a liberal bent.
You want to bring it back, Lynn?
Sure.
I just gotta bring it back. Facebook.
Do we have a jingle? Do we have a Facebook jingle?
Edward in Chicago. Then we're gonna go back to Facebook.
I do have a Facebook jingle if you want it.
I'm not gonna. There's a
I
really
wanna-
Facebook jingle?
I have a Facebook jingle that I use on Russ's show when he reads his Twitter comments.
I want
And
to
I
preview it.
specifically call it the Facebook jingle. It's like the please stand by music, the technical difficulties type thing.
Yeah. If Gangler shows, if he bothers to come in, tell him for the last segment to come in. We'll hold a show.
So are we going into presidential candidates?
Well, we could, but we
Well,
got a caller.
Okay,
We're
we
still
gotta
on
see
that.
where the call
yeah.
goes first. Okay.
Here we go. And we're back with more on Target Radio. Give us a call, 312-642-5600. We have Edward from Chicago, and Edward has a comment about double standard. How you doing, Edward? I'm doing good. So you got an issue about Muslim and double standard at time of war? Well, you know what? You're absolutely right, Edward, and that's dead flat true. What? And here, you know what? And you're right. When
Now they make YouTube videos.
Well, yeah, it's true. When I was in Vietnam, if we were any place for more than 2 days, we built a city out of empty ammo crates. Okay, and so by the time we left, we had bars, we had everything built up because we're Americans, you know. But you're right, because it's utter boredom interspersed with moments of stark terror, and you got to do something. But here's the thing, and I think you really kind of hit the nail on the head. We go over to these countries because they're getting decimated, and they're saying we need help. We got to stop this crazy regime. We got to stop this murdering guy, and then they're telling us how to do it. If they're so smart, let them the hell do it themselves. Yep. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm a cigar smoker. And you can well imagine how well that's Gretchen, just every time she even thinks that I smoke a cigar, has a heart attack. Yeah. So that's it. I mean, that is literally it. And there's a double standard. And we were saying that in the last segment too. How is it that our offending them is more important than their offending us? And that's exactly what's happening. Yep. All right, thanks for the call. We appreciate it.
Our friend Michael from New York City says on Facebook, lack of freedom of speech is evident in the mainstream media. They only cover some of the news, and when they do cover an issue, they use a liberal bent.
Where's the news in that? That we know. Okay, they're
He's just
he's right.
pointing out.
It's
Yeah.
true. He's dead right. It is true. It's you read the Tribune and they're getting stories canned from the White House.
Right.
and they're just running it. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, journalists are familiar with the wires, the AP, and
yeah.
they send out information and you write your stories based on the wires. And the White House wants to be a wire service, I think. They want to, here's what you're going to write about. They
Yeah.
they'll send out their press release and this is what you're going to write about, this is what you're going to say.
Well, I remember just a couple of weeks ago, Obama making a comment. I forget what it was he said he was going to promote, saying, I expect my friends in the press to actively support this. You remember that? It was like about
Yeah.
2 weeks ago or
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
He basically owns the press. And people wonder why, the New York Times wonders why the subscription level is run off. The only people who subscribe to the rag are liberals.
For people who don't have television.
Or can't read, but have birds. But the whole
They have fish to wrap.
That's right. Yeah, they got a pet fish at the fair, and by the time you get it home, the nice thing about winning a fish at the fair is it doesn't live long enough to name it. So it's not, you don't get really emotionally
You don't have to worry about
attached.
buying food and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just he croaks on the way home. They put it in a plastic bag. I don't know how did we get on that subject, but anyway, it's always an interesting segment on this show, is it not?
Yeah.
We go from Muslims and drinking beer in Arab countries to dead goldfish. No other show can do that. You have to say that.
I don't know if any.
No.
I don't know if any that do.
You don't hear Hannah.
Yeah, I
Hannah
don't
do it.
listen to like Howard Stern. I mean, he may be doing
That's a good point. Doesn't she get beeped for saying Howard Stern?
I probably should.
No, I guess not.
Not on this station.
What?
That's not a curse word. Not on this station.
Interesting thing. We were talking last week about Mike Pence, who's the governor of Indiana, and one of our callers, remember, called in
Yeah.
and said
Wasn't he thinking about running for president?
yeah, and we had not even heard that.
And basically,
He is.
our caller said that the gay front was attacking him in advance so that he couldn't run for president.
Exactly.
And
Well,
basically-
guess what? They did a pretty good job. It looks
Yeah,
like.
that's what this article says.
And here's the mistake that he made. The mistake that he made was he backed off and
Yeah.
almost apologized.
And they changed the bill.
Right. And that's what sunk him. The liberals hated him for doing it to begin with, and then the conservatives hated him because he looked wishy-washy, and that did sink
Right,
him.
because he
Yeah.
folded like a Dixie cup.
Exactly. You want? You should have just hewed to the line.
That's right.
We'll be back with more on Target Radio after these messages, and you're listening to AM560 The Answer.
So you want to hear something funny? I kind of wanted to say this on the air, but it's probably better that I don't.
Probably get beat, right?
No.
Oh.
The guy Michael from New York City that we met at
Yeah.
the gun show. Apparently on the radio once or twice I've referred to him as our Jewish friend from New York City.
Okay.
And he emailed me on Facebook and he was like, I could look it up, but he said something like, "Is that bad that I'm a Jew from New York City?" I'm like, "No, it's just that's how I can identify you today." I'm like, "You're the only Jew from New York City that we know mutually."
And
It's just
I
a good
think
identifier.
he may be the only Jew from New York City that's a conservative.
Right. That like listens to our show and comments.
John
every
Lovitz.
week and
That's true.
Yep.
Is he in New York? He lives in New York?
is he a
He's from New
conservative?
York. I don't know if he lives in New York. Probably
Okay.
lives in California.
He's conservative.
Well, there you go.
No.
I have no idea where we are.
Oh, okay.
Is this
No,
But
there are some great
I just
John
said,
Lovitz quotes.
I told him, I'm like, no, it's just a really good way to identify you. And apparently he accepted that answer.
Well, that's nice. That's nice. 21. I'm like lost. We are in 43. Oh, so we're going into segment 4?
Yeah, I think so.
I got totally.
Yeah, it's going by very fast.
Oh, okay.
As it's going by very fast.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
the
me
caller
too.
kind of took that whole segment.
Yeah, but I just wasn't. I got kind of. I'm just so sleep deprived. I don't know what segment I'm in. And I'm looking at the clock, and it's not. I can't even tell time. I'm like, there's numbers flashing. What does that mean? Lottery tickets. I don't know what that is. If I don't get some sleep, I will. For a guy who's had no sleep for 2 days, it's not bad though, right? Put some on Facebook and say, "Nice try."
I think put it in the comments on YouTube as well.
Put comments on YouTube saying, "Nice try." What?
His Facebook music for or his
What
Twitter
is it?
his Twitter music for Russ, because he said there's a perceptible delay while Russ is searching for the comment that he wants to read on Twitter. And so he said that happened a few times, and he finally realized, okay, I need to fill this with something. And so it sounds like a 50s cartoon or something. It's like dun 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 dun, dun and you hear like birds chirping and something.
Okay, do we have any idea what we're going to do?
24 seconds.
You want to talk about the arms treaty, don't you?
Oh, we're going to do the arms treaty, yeah.
Oh, that's a good one.
What is that about, your arms? You're going to have to hold them up if you're...
I have the right to bear arms, right? So like,
Or, yeah, you
show
take
my
them off.
arms.
Absolutely. Oh, look at George. That's disgusting. You just put me off my feet.
Oh, we didn't need to see that.
Pasty.
I was gonna say that is a shade of white that no one wants to see. I should know because like
What?
there's parts of me that are the same color.
And we're back with more On Target Radio. Give us a call, 312-642-5600. It is so rare that we can say this, but
Yes.
the GOP and the Democrats are actually agreeing on
We
something.
agree on something.
And the best part about their agreeing on it is it's in opposition to the president, who's obviously a Democrat. Oh no, how could that be possible? So, and what it is the UN Arms Treaty, which we've talked about before.
Yeah.
It's, here's an organization, they haven't paid rent on that property, have they ever? I'm not sure they've ever paid it.
Probably not.
Probably not. I think it would make a good used car lot. You gotta just drop the whole thing, kick the bums out.
Parking. Don't we need more parking there? I
Yes,
think we should have like a 10-story parking lot.
we need more parking because the mob's got to find more places to put people in concrete, and
Hey,
then parking lots work.
That's
What are
as
you gonna
good
say?
of a place as any.
Yeah.
The old UN building.
You know what? Oh, for a minute there, George was away from the desk. I could have said something, and he might not have been able to get to it.
There is a 16-second delay though.
Is
It's like
it? Oh,
the
yeah.
longest delay in radio.
Well, we could give it a try someday. What we'll do is we'll drop something in the hallway. He'll come out to see what it is, and we'll do it right then. We're plotting against you, George. This is wonderful. George has no microphone.
Yeah, he said his mic really is not working.
That is true. We can say anything we want.
He's talking to Dave's ear. First he talked in my ear, now he's talking to Dave's ear.
What are you going to say? So the thing about the UN arms thing, they say it's, to stop arms getting into rebel hands and doing all that kind of stuff. The reality is, and I find this amazing, China, did you read this?
No.
China has demanded, not suggested, demanded that the United States forego the Second Amendment and disarm everybody. Now, what could possibly go wrong with that idea?
Okay, just like many other things that we've discussed, like if so-and-so says that this is good, then I know it's bad. This would be one of those situations. If China wants it, then we should automatically say, oh, hell no.
Unless it's stuff you buy for $1 in the store. I mean, the plastic stuff that kids inhale and
No, I understand.
choke to death. Yeah,
And we feed our pets the food and they die.
Yeah. That stuff is, okay, no. But here's the thing. This arms treaty deal, it's going to turn into a very predictable thing. Well, first of all, it isn't going to happen because the Senate has to ratify it, and that's not going to happen. And I'm not sure that would have happened.
59 senators and 191 House members are on record opposing the treaty.
I think
And
there's a
they're
message
from both
in there.
sides of the aisle.
I think there's a message in there somewhere.
You think?
I'm not sure, to be serious, I'm not sure it would have passed under the old Senate either.
I don't think it would have.
I don't think most Democrats. We disagree with Democrats on a whole lot of things, even with the liberal Democrats on a whole lot of things.
Yeah.
But the disagreement is over who's going to run the country the way they see it should be run.
Well, and
It's
how
not
much-
about
how much
letting-
money can they spend and,
Yeah.
and that sort of thing.
It's not about letting China in to run it or
Right.
somebody else.
It's not about letting Kenya tell us what to do.
Exactly. Well, Kenya is actually, but
Well,
yeah.
just that one guy.
What are
But
you gonna
but no, Kenya is one of the nations that's really pushing for it. They're going, well,
Right.
we have a problem with illegal guns in our country, so we want this to help. Well, I'm sorry, solve your own problem. It's kind of, not my problem that you have an issue with, with guns or violence or whatever in your country, you need to deal with that within your country. Don't look to the UN to solve your problems for
It's
you.
a novel thought that
I know.
we should do what helps them, even though it goes against our Constitution.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's
That's
a really
just a small matter.
a small matter. But yeah, a lot of people don't realize this. Obama can do anything he wants. It has to be ratified by the Senate,
Yes.
and there's no end run around the fact that from a constitutional point. Well, Constitution, what's that? Maybe there is.
He's gotten real creative. Remember I think it wasn't him, it was one of his underlings said, we have a committee to investigate the full spectrum of things that he can do by executive order. Remember that?
And he has
That
a
was
full,
like a month
full
or two
spectrum.
ago.
Yeah, yeah.
So apparently that committee is hard at work. They are they're getting it done, and they are coming up with everything that he can do without Congress's consent.
And I suggest that he will blow his nose in it and ignore it. And quite frankly, all those Republicans that we voted for who said we're going to clean this up, they haven't done squat.
We're going to do this, that, and the other thing.
Haven't done squat. They're
Mhm.
just this guy should be impeached by now.
I think all of the guys in Congress that actually have a will to do something, that actually have a spine and a pair, shall I say? I can say that. I know I can say that.
Yes.
They're busy thinking about running for president. So
Yes.
that's part of the reason why not much is getting done.
The Democrats now have one candidate for president, and the
Yes.
Republicans 283
Yeah.
candidates for president. Yes. So that's how that's going to be out. Every one of them will get one vote, and the one presidential candidate, the Democrat Party, will get 2.7 million votes. Yeah, that's how that's going to work.
Don't say that.
Well, that's how it's going to be. What are you going to say?
Don't say that.
What a horrifying thing.
That is horrifying.
What does that make Bill? Other than an idiot. What does it make Bill? Is he like the first dude? What does he become?
Well, no, actually, if you know anything about presidential history, you know that the first lady is not necessarily the wife of the president. The first lady.
Oh, that was true with Bill Clinton.
Yeah, the first lady is the hostess of the White House.
That's true.
So she would have to hire someone else to be the first lady.
Okay, and Bill will be all for it. When we come back, we got to talk about ISIS and their humanitarian thing, because that's just too priceless. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about. You won't believe this. Give us a call 312-642-5600. We'll be back with more on Target Radio. You're listening to AM560 The Answer. I didn't think I could get that in, did you?
No.
I can do it. I can do it.
Taking this last segment.
There's my man.
There he is.
You met Rick. Rick is our new, he's kind of our social media guy.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Because as you well know, we have no social or media.
What happened?
Russ has the show after ours, Live in
You
Sports.
can have mine. I'm not using it.
Why are they all taking off?
You need a condom?
Mine doesn't.
No, all these.
My voice
Covered.
doesn't come through as well with it. When I
I,
listen to the recordings, it sounds better without it.
oh, you know. So, do we have any idea how you pronounce this? Yazidis? Yazidis?
Yazidis.
Are you just pulling that out of your butt, or is that your fact?
I'm pulling down my butt.
There we go. Okay. It'll be
Well,
another.
because it's Yazidi plural. Yazidi plural.
Okay.
Please no removal of objects from anal cavities in the studio.
Why is it
That is
today
Nick Brooks.
everything that's happening is either coming out or going into my butt?
And
Did you ever
that's-
watch
that's our new thing.
Carton?
South Park?
Yeah, South
Yeah.
Park. I love that
Yeah,
show.
it's funny.
You know why I love that show? Most of the reason, because it's below sophomore humor.
Mhm.
Most of the reason is those two guys were liberal, but they skewered everything.
It's
Right.
it's 100% satire on steroids with a touch
Exactly.
of demonic.
But they're both. I know they're both
Yes.
very liberal, but they skewered liberals as much as they ever did
Okay, this
conservatives.
is the
20
this
seconds.
is the last segment.
Yeah.
So I have to do my thing.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I've got a thing that I do.
How much you got?
You want Facebook music?
No. 2 minutes.
Two. Okay. Because I got to talk about this.
Okay.
And we're back with more On Target Radio, and the moment you wait for every week. This is what's coming up.
I would hope that every person in our listening audience is a member of the ISRA, but that is statistically improbable. So if you are not a member of the Illinois State Rifle Association, I urge you to join. The ISRA fights for your Second Amendment rights every day the legislature is in session in Springfield. They also support and promote the shooting sports in Illinois, like hosting the Clyde Howell Youth Shooting Camp that Safer USA organizes each year. Just one example. To join today, go to isra.org and click on Participate. I want every one of you to put down Gretchen Fritz as the member that referred you, and then I will get so many people to join that they will have to give me a plaque or something.
That's cheap. That is cheap.
And they'll go, David Lombardo who? Once again, go to isra.org and click on Participate. The following Safer USA classes are all at our office in Waterman. Saturday, April 18th, Illinois Concealed Carry 2 for those who have an exemption for the first 8 hours, taught by Gretchen. Saturday, April 25th, Tactical Pistol 1 and 2, taught by David. Saturday and Sunday, April 25th and 26th, Illinois Concealed Carry 1. This 16-hour class will be taught by David, Gretchen, and Ed Ronkowski and meets the training requirements for Illinois Concealed Carry, as well as Florida, Arizona, and Utah. To sign up for classes, go to saferusa.com and click on register.
I just have to bring this up, and then we're gonna our old buddy Russ Gangler is in here, and we'll chat with him. But ISIS, the people who specialize in beheading people, he may not have a mic, but he still has chutzpah.
He still has sound effects.
ISIS did a humanitarian thing. They released 200 people in cities who they had just captured, prior to that.
A few months ago.
Yeah, a few months prior to that. They released them all, and there's a photo of them. This is in the Chicago Tribune, of an ISIS guy who normally would be wearing a hood sawing someone's head off, politely helping an elderly man.
Well, no, actually, that guy's he's Peshmerga. He's from a different group. But the
They still saw
did.
it. Yeah.
Wasn't that one of the 5 guys that got traded for Burdoff in that big trade?
Could be, and they could use him too. This is like Al Sharpton. There's a camera. Let's get some PR.
Right.
How can ISIS even remotely wonder what they're doing?
The interesting thing is that most of those released were elderly or disabled or children.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing they're like, it's not even fun to kill these people. It's not even a challenge. So
Yeah.
we're just going to let them go.
And we're going to get the PR for it.
And we're going to have a photo op.
It's total BS. It's hard to believe they
The other thing that's interesting about this is this actually looks like my Grandpa Mike.
don't want to go down this road.
My mom is listening.
Don't want to go down this road.
Grandpa Mike was really
Engler, you're
right.
coming up. You're coming up. Live in sports. Anything really big?
We got some great topics tonight. Cubs just won 2 out of 3 in Colorado, so we're going to talk some Cub baseball. Got some good trivia questions tonight, some prizes, so it's going to be a great show. Cubs are 3-2. They lost the home opener Sunday night. They won 3 out of 4 this week. So 3-2.
Chicago Cubs?
The Chicago Cubs.
What
You're
happened?
welcome. You're welcome to stay in for the next segment, Dave. After you stay in the hallway, and Gretchen can stay in the show.
Why do we let him in the room?
You always say that. We use that same line all the time, though.
Because you love it.
Did you guys talk about Hillary Clinton at all?
Oh yeah.
Did you? I missed the first half of your show.
Just
Okay.
love it.
Yeah, we gotta go. We gotta run, but yeah, what am I gonna say? I don't know. Thank you for listening to On Target Radio, and be sure to listen next week when we'll be covering the red meat issues that affect your life.
We'd also like to thank George Hoffman on the board, Rick Cizek, our social media coordinator, and our sponsors, DS Arms, Gaylord's Fine Indian Cuisine, Illinois State Rifle Association, the Aurora Sportsman's Club, Stone City Kitchen and Bath Design Center, and Safer USA.
Say goodbye, Rick.
See you guys next time.
There you go. All right. We're going to be back next week. Stick it in, stick it. I quit. That's it. We're done. All right. Thank you, Michael, for making it happen, even if I really bungled it up. We're going to stick it in? Where did that come from?
What were you